Cloud Talk, the show. Hey, Larry, how are you doing?
Welcome. Doing great, man.
Oh, God, that's fantastic. We have some weird stuff going on today, other than the fact that my machine keeps blue screening. So if you see crazy edits on this, hey, it must have been a blue screen. I'll try to put these windows back in the same position, but if you see things move around, oh well. All right, so blue screen. When was the last time we saw one of those? What happens on the cloud when you get a blue screen? Is there such a thing, a blue screen on the cloud?
Good question.
Wouldn't that be like the entire eastern seaboard, like falling off the map? That would be a blue screen for the cloud, wouldn't it?
You know, recently Microsoft had an issue with their Active Directory.
Oh.
And so the cloud was running, but no one could get logged in.
Really?
Yes. We'll put a note in the show notes to point to that. But
oh, okay, good idea. Let's mention that one. So, as they say, if no one can log in, is there any sound being made in the forest? That's going to be a very existential question. In the meantime, over here, you're probably seeing my screen. I don't know if I'm blocking out anything today, unless you show something today, Larry. But today we are talking cloud. We're back on core cloud topics, not a supplemental. And we're talking storage today.
Yes.
Storage. So I'm starting off over here. On my end, you can see I have my little dashboard for Azure, because Azure is my choice for stuff, especially since I got my... You can see my money here being spent nicely, and slowly. Oh, isn't that great? Like this one over here. See that over here? $1.05 for my little CDN that I have, Azure Storage. Now, here's the thing. I got an Azure CDN. Why? Because the original SharePoint framework, which I think I covered in episode 1, said deploy to Azure. So I did all that great instructions, and now I have my Azure CDN. And pretty much on the day that I got that to work, they did this. Ta-da-da! Office 365 CDN, which says, hey, that CDN you went to Azure didn't have to go there. It could have come right to SharePoint. And I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. I'm just slow, I guess. I didn't get here in time. Right? So, but here's the thing. So some people, I've seen some blogs out there that said, hey, we don't even need that. I can deploy my bits right into some SharePoint library somewhere in online, and the stuff will just work. And sure enough, Microsoft has confirmed to me, by the way, that it does work that way. I was on the SIG today, listening to the engineers talk about it. Well, I questioned them essentially that specifically. Is it true that you can make this work? I didn't want to test it necessarily before finding out. And they said, yeah, it's true. However, and here was the very important thing. What's the concept of a CDN, right? Why is the CDN good? The CDN is good mainly because it provides that caching mechanism for a lot of things, and provides a geolocation. So wherever you are, in fact, you know that a lot of these sites use CDNs. So if you're in Europe, you're in America, whatever, and you're sharing, say, some of the same code things, say JavaScript, say images, CSS, all that stuff. Geolocation makes sure that stuff is quick and fast and located to you. The SharePoint stuff, the Office 365 stuff, as it turns out, it's cloudy, but yes, those are regionally located. So this is sort of like fake cloud. It's right. It's like it's in the cloud. However, it's in the cloud located in a certain area. Ooh. So it's faster for you if you're in California getting a California area. So I'm like, oh, well, is storage the same way? Turns out storage is the same way too. You can set up storage where it could be geolocated, or it could be in a certain area. So it's faster to access from certain areas. CDN, the concept of a CDN, is pretty much geolocation right off the bat. Now, and here was the thing. So I set up this CDN that was over here. Now, apparently, one of the options I had over here when I was setting this up was it could be geolocated automatically, right? Or not. So oh, really? So it's actually just like websites, right? You could tell it. You have options for locating your websites closer to where you want to be, but you have to pay for that.
Yes.
It's like having more than one copy of something, right?
Right.
So that's the concept over here I was trying to get around. So it turns out, though, when you do it with Office 365, and this is for our users out there looking back and following our SharePoint adventures, you should use the Office CDN because, well, if you're doing production, you should, because that is absolutely geolocated. You get that, and for free. So remember this little $1 I spent over here? Remember that $1? Remember how you had to pay your $1?
$1.50, yeah.
Guess what? If I do that here, it's free. Because it's included with Office 365. So if I already paid for my Office 365 and I put my stuff there, I don't have to pay this crazy $1.
Right.
So, hey, I thought you might like that one because you get to save $1 once again.
Yeah, well, and squeaky. You know, I mean, it's like going to the buffet and taking your own silverware, right?
It's just about.
Because they charge for it, but they really don't. You know, I mean,
You got it.
I don't
Just
know.
bring the plasticware home. That's what I do. I have my McDonald's straw collection that's hanging up. You know, great for my little daughter who likes to eat the straws. I'm like, okay, she threw the toys on the floor again. Okay, just open up a straw.
Yeah.
There we go. So,
Yeah.
anyways,
Well,
yeah.
you know, if you're thirsty, you can. Yeah. Anyway.
I,
All
I,
right. So
so
I'm loving this. What else we got?
that's pretty much my story for storage. All right, the concept of storage being ubiquitous everywhere, and the concept that it's pennies and pennies on the dollar, and so pennies that Microsoft itself is practically giving it away
Yeah.
with the Office 365 piece. But I think you got a better storage story to tell right now.
Well, I've got a little bit of a storage story, but I do want to wax a little bit in fanboy awe of some of the stuff that they put out at Build. And
Oh,
so,
okay.
if you don't mind, flip back over to your dashboard.
Yes.
Do you see up there? Do you see the bell for your
The bell.
notifications?
Oh yeah. Ding 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 ding.
Do you see something just to the right of it?
Just to the right of it. Dun dun
Yep.
dun. Oh, Cloud Shell. Ooh.
Do you know what that is? That is awesome. That is pure awesome sauce. Click on that puppy.
There we go. Azure Shell requires Azure Storage File Share to persist your dollar home directory. Need a subscription to do this. Of course, I got my subscription. So look, I'm about to create another storage piece.
Yep.
Because I'm about to save that dollar, so I might as well get something to replace it.
Yes. Now, what this is doing is this is giving your Bash shell home directory someplace to put files. So all of your .bash RSC files and things like that. Anything you save, like little scripts you save, will go into that storage automatically.
Look at that. Oh, by the way, I better tell the folks who are pure Microsofty what the Bash shell is.
Bash. Okay, Bash shell is one of the flavors of Unix shells, and it's like the command prompt, but it's the Unix version. And
so
you actually get Ubuntu Bash shell with Windows 10 now. So you could break this open on your own machine. But Bash is cross-platform. We see it in a lot of places. But what's really nice, yes, LS there, but what you want to do is AZ.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah. AZ is your Azure command line, and this is the Azure command line version 2.0.
Dude, check it out. Look at that little
There you
JSON-y response.
Yes. Now, if you want your response to be in a different format, try the same thing with the -O space table.
Let's see if it's got. Yes, it does.
So up arrow, it does, of course. -O -O space table.
Are you ready?
Yes, sir. Let's see what that
Dun,
does.
dun, dun.
Now, the reason they throw JSON back by default is because, of course, that's the language of the web. That's the language of the cloud. But because Bash shell users live and breathe using awk and sed and things like that are generally delimited by
Awk.
yeah, I know awk. I'm sorry, and sed, which is a stream editor. But they everything is delimited by spaces, so it's like old COBOL, right? Old punch cards and ancient things like that.
The green screens, yes.
Green screens, yes. BT100. Man, set the Wayback Machine to.
Yep.
I don't want to know, but you get to choose the output that you want depending on what you want to consume it with. So with this AZ command, you can do an AZ space storage space account space list space O table list LIST. Sorry.
Oops. Thank you.
And table just makes it easier for us to see. Those are your storage accounts, and some of this we might want to block out.
Let's see. Would I want to block any of this stuff out? Probably.
I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't think it's got anything to.
No, I don't think so. I think a lot of these, for example, they can see, but they're not any passwords or any of that stuff going on. anywhere else over here? Nope. I think we're okay. This is not proprietary stuff at the moment. We're good.
But see, so this is the way to deal with storage. Now, what's really fun?
What's the clear screen in good old Bash?
Good question.
Good question.
It's
Can't
clear.
remember.
CLEAR.
Oh, clear, of course.
I know, it's crazy.
Yes.
So if you flip back over to mine,
Yep.
my screen.
All right, here we go. We're going to go to your screen for just a second.
Thank
Check it out. Hey, I see you're in a Mac.
Yes, I know, it's crazy.
How did you do that?
Larry,
we're using Join Me.
Larry's
That's how
coming from
we're
a
sneaky
Mac.
that way.
Yeah, sneaky. But here's AZ
Yep.
storage account list dash table dash O
That's all.
table.
We're going to memorize this before you know it.
That's right.
And now you remember clear.
And yes.
Oh, you got a nicer looking list than mine. Oh, that's because you had a wider screen.
I spread my stuff.
You did.
And, hey, check this out. My bash shell's got transparent backgrounds.
Ooh.
But the reason that this is important, and the reason that we brought up storage using it.
Yep.
But the reason that this is really important is that notice that what you did was completely in a browser, and I'm actually on a bash shell. I could also, if I flip back over here to Safari, I've got the same deal. I can open up a bash shell here as well on the window. You can be on your iPad and open up a bash shell.
Well, you could be on your Android
phone.
Whatever, in a phone.
Yes. You could be on anything that can open a web page and run this JavaScript. This is not some kind of weird ActiveX plugin. You remember those from back in the day that you only use on IE.
That's right.
Here I am in Safari on a Mac.
All right.
And loading up the same web page that you loaded up.
Ta-da.
And I've got access to it.
That's true.
So because this is cloudy, this is really one of those write once, run anywhere. You just have to run it in the shell.
Alrighty.
Okay. So
on this screen, I might hide some of this stuff over here. We'll see. You let me know if you want that stuff to be shown or not. It'll tell me later. If not, if you guys are seeing this later, then obviously it was cleared for view.
Yeah, none of the stuff that shows here is any problem.
Okay.
The one thing that I do want to talk about, we talked about storage, and one of the other storage places that I look at is Backblaze. And I've not done my sample program to connect to Backblaze and store stuff there.
Yep.
But I will be doing that, and
coming soon, huh?
We'll have that in our show notes. Yes,
right.
We'll link to it from the
notes
from my blog.
Okay. When it's in your blog, I'll link it on the cloud on the talk show here.
Sounds good.
All right.
But I mean, storage is one of the pillars. Storage is one of the
Indeed.
3 pillars of the cloud.
Here are the pillars. We got compute, we got networking, we have storage.
Right. And one of the other things that they came out with in Build recently is it's the way that they do the geolocation for the cloud storage. And when you talk about cloud storage, really you're talking about structured storage, unstructured storage, blobs or tables or a dictionary.
Here, I'm going to minimize for just a second over here and minimize that here. And let me show you again when I clicked on my CDN, and you'll see over here. Look, see, we have blobs.
Blobs, files, tables, queues.
Yes.
That's all storage.
Yes. I mean, all of the guys that are giving this kind of stuff, like on Google and on AWS, they have these concepts.
Yes.
They may not call them the same thing, but they are the same.
Right. And what's nice too, you can mount blob storage to your computer and write to it like it was a disk. Oh, no. I know. Isn't that crazy?
Oh man, we're giving too many of the virus people ideas here.
Oh, come on. They've got better ideas than that.
Well, if you can mount a blob storage, that's like saying I'm going to ride a horse, but I'm going to ride a horse that's somewhere over there. that's
I'm gonna
like
ride somebody else's
20 million feet bigger than my current horse.
Absolutely.
Oh man.
Back in the day, showing my age a little bit, back when I was using VT100s in college, one of the things that we learned how to do was allocate temporary storage. Because, we were given the accounts on the CMS machine, right? It's
yes.
big old mainframe.
Right.
The accounts we were given had a limited amount of space.
Of course.
And this was back when the internet was wild and woolly, and there were files that we wanted to download that were bigger than the space that we had available. So we found out how to allocate temporary storage. And what was nice is you could pass that temporary storage back and forth between multiple accounts. And what that meant is that you could basically turn temporary storage into permanent storage by just having a bounce. But sharing is caring.
Yeah.
But think about that with this. What we're talking about here is if I'm in some different city than my home, but I store all of my files in the cloud,
yes,
they're all accessible.
I mean, they've been talking about this for a while now, like Groove and all those other programs where the whole concept was that you had essentially a roaming storage. I mean, even NT back in the day had the concept of the roaming profile, where you went somewhere else, you log in your machine, and your so-called roaming profile will bring all your settings and including your files, because they were on a network share somewhere, to you, wherever you were.
Well, and we've got right now competitors that, there's Dropbox.
Yes.
Right, there's OneDrive, and they do all of that syncing in the background kind of stuff for us.
Correct.
But this is opened up for regular applications, not just, we don't have to leverage Dropbox, which a lot of programs have done, by the way. Leverage Dropbox to use for central storage of settings that they wanted to be global for a user. But now you don't have to do that. You could just open up a blob, and that way you're not paying for the storage. Your client is, the person who's running the program. Lots of fun stuff.
That's very fun. So can't beat it. Now, what else have we got on deck here?
That's about it.
Okay.
I can do, AZ storage.
Oh, hold on a second.
I'm not typing.
Are you looking at your screen? Yeah, we're on your screen.
I'm not typing. AZ, I'm not typing still.
Oh, you're still not typing. Oh, yeah. So that's what I noticed. Why don't you go back to your regular bash shell?
Let me go back to my regular bash shell.
Because one thing I noticed on the webby thing over there, you have to click, 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 click before it started working.
All right. AZ storage, blob, list, table.
Ta-da.
Ta-da. Oh,
what's that?
I need to give it a container name.
Container name.
Dash name. Dash
Before that,
name.
What's the name of the container?
What is the container name? Is dash C quote test.
Oops.
Nope. Never mind. I don't have my credentials set up on this one right now.
Oh, that's right. You have to connect to it, basically. That's why maybe the other one would probably work if you did it from there, because you're automatically connected.
Right, because you're automatically connected. You've got all of your credentials stored. For this, I would have to either give an account name and key, a connection string, or an SAS token.
Right. So,
you were going to talk about those, weren't you?
I was. So hold on a second. Let me minimize here. Just wanted to show you the concept over here. So when I go into my blob, my blobby blob over here, and I have my pieces that you can see over here, and you see over here I'm putting in. There's my content. See those files I have? That's inside of my. Those are items that are inside my content inside of my blob. So let me close this for a second here. Close. Let me get back here. Things that I have over here, and I've shown this before, I believe, so I should be okay. Let me go find there's the containers right over here.
Right.
All right, and then here's the concept of the access keys. Now, I don't have to block this out because it turns out you're only seeing the first part of this. You're not seeing all of it. But the whole idea of using this is essentially you have access keys and endpoints. All right, the
Okay.
combination of the correct endpoint and the right access key and the storage account name and a bunch of things is your key in order to use anything to touch your blob or your CDN or whatever it is that happen to be accessing. All right.
Gotcha. So what you're saying is each individual blob piece or each container
Yes.
has its own set of keys.
Pretty much. And as you can see, I
Okay.
have a bunch of keys. I have like two. Azure gives you 2 keys off the bat, so you can like play around with either of them. All right.
Okay.
And if you want more, just create a new storage account name, and then it'll give you new keys.
And so the reason they give 2 keys is so that you can put both or put one of them out in your application, and then
I'm not sure. That's a good
private.
question. Why are there 2 keys? When I'm using, I only need one of them when I'm talking to on SharePoint side for a CDN. It only needs one of them, but potentially the 2 keys can be used for double authentication. Be like, you want something locked down? Well, I don't need 1 key. I need 2, or I'm going to give you 1 key and I have the other.
I think they give you 2 though, so that you can build one or both into your application, and then
Yes.
you could turn them off.
Yes.
You could say, hey, I want this key no longer works.
Yes.
I'm changing the locks on the doors.
But you have your
But you have
backup,
a backup
key.
key.
Right,
Yeah.
and as you can see over here, looking over here, and maybe I'll focus on this over here. But you can see it over there. Let me Windows Plus. Let me go Plus. You can see the key over there,
Yes.
right over here, and you can see that. That's the concept. There's 2 different keys, and they're completely different. And then, by the way, there's a way to refresh these. See this over here? I can
Yes.
make new ones. Regenerate.
You can regenerate them.
On the fly. So this is security level back and forth all over the place. The case of, by the way, the SharePoint that I was showing you earlier, a very important concept of this. So some people think, oh, they got a CDN on Office 365. Maybe I don't want to pay my $1. I don't want to pay the $1. I just want to use SharePoint to do it. Because I have other web apps that are going to make use of that stuff. Well, guess what? They did this, and they were smart. They did this to only work for SharePoint Online.
Gotcha.
Even though this is working, this is for web parts only in SharePoint Online, or SharePoint Online only stuff, not necessarily web parts, just
So
their stuff.
flip back over if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Because one thing I do want to look at that I saw going by that I think relates to this.
Yes.
If you scroll up and down on your left, I saw something that was CORS.
Oh, yes. Check it out.
There you go.
And
that's an important piece.
yes.
Right? Cross-platform or cross-domain requests.
Correct. Yeah,
So
you can set
this
up
allows
cores
you
rules
to-
individually for each storage device. So it's like right now, I don't have any cores set up over here. I can add a rule if I wish.
Cool.
So I could keep stuff from happening. So by the way, clearly when they did it, they used the same concept we're doing over here. We could probably recreate what was done in their Office 365 here for ourselves. We could do exactly what they did. Now the concept of what they did over here, they had the concept of refer. Their CDN, the way their CDN works is like, I don't have those keys. When I write a web part and I put it up there, I didn't need any keys at all. Right? I just simply put the web part up there. I don't need any more of that reference that says here are the keys or none of that. And mainly because, but it's still only going to work from SharePoint. How does it do that? It has a concept of the referrer. Really, say that 5 times fast. Referrer. If the referrer is a SharePoint Online item talking to it, it will allow it. All right?
Okay.
At that point, whether it's public or private, we'll now decide how to authenticate, not how to authenticate, but how to authorize it, basically.
Right.
All right? But that's what they do in the background. They've done that setup ahead of time. They're the ones controlling it. They have all the keys. They're all doing that in the background. Basically, they've eliminated all that extra overhead for us to have to do over here, because we would have had to set all that stuff up ourselves over here.
Okay.
Right? So look, if we did add over here, see that allowed origins and stuff. In fact,
Right.
when you look at the PowerShell for setting up the Office 365 CDN, they talk about origins. They talk about, but they don't go to this verbs and headers and everything else. All that stuff they take care of. You just need to give them the origins.
Okay. So now you just said a magic word.
Yeah.
And you said PowerShell.
Yes.
We're going to retrain your thinking.
Bash
Okay.
shell.
Now it's going to be the Azure CLI.
Yes. Correct.
And I've heard that if you just live in it for a week, you'll never go back.
And that's true, because otherwise I still have this good old SharePoint management PowerShell is what they told us to get just to do this one. See that one over here? Where they're
Yes.
saying, there we go, for example, get SPO tenant enabled, that sort of information.
Yes.
And so that's the PowerShell because it's quick, it's dirty and everything else, but you don't need to do this. And you're right, you just use the CLI to do the same thing.
And one thing that's interesting about the CLI, it's actually written in Python.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's not surprising, actually, because it makes sense.
And what they have now is they've got it set up so that when changes are made to the Azure DLLs, the runs that are running on PowerShell and running all of that other, when changes are made there, it automatically generates new bindings and builds it using those new connections to the endpoints, the REST endpoints.
Huh.
So all of that's automatic, so it's always up to date.
There we go.
So supposedly anything that you can do in CLI or in any other environment you can do in CLI.
There we go.
Or you soon will be able to. Also open source project, dig in. If you're a Python head, jump in, and sharing is caring.
Mm-hmm. Sharing is caring,
Help 'em
that's
out.
true. Got to be out there, and the concept is the reason why this stuff is moving fast is because of that. Folks are really finally getting the time and getting into it, and it is making a difference, right? A lot of this stuff, that whole SharePoint framework stuff, that really probably could not have happened without the community really on
Right.
top of it,
Well, and Ralph, where you live, it snows, right?
Uh-huh.
You've been driving along and you've seen someone stuck in the ditch, and you've stopped and gotten out to help them push it out, right? And I'm sure you've been in those situations where it's not just you, it's like 16 other people, and everybody jumps in and they all push, and it's just done like that.
Right.
A lot less work. That's that same type of community that we're talking about here with the open source that Microsoft's pushing now.
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
they're wanting to build that so that you can get 16, 20, 300 people working on the same problem.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the
Getting it
same
solved
problem from
quickly.
different perspectives, and the same
Yes.
problem with the same goal is we just want to get this stuff to work for everybody. If we make it work for ourselves, we make it work for others as well. So, I mean, there may be as they say, a selfish motivation to some of it, but in the end, it's, as they say, it's paying forward.
That's right.
So,
Agree.
all right,
All right.
that's a lot of stuff for just one episode, I think.
That's a lot, and we rambled. I apologize. Some of that's my fault, but I don't mind.
Rambling is okay. This is what this is about. At some point, we're going to probably do the more deal with the audience sort of thing. Until we get into that live mode, this is what we're going to have to deal with. Some ramblings and some stuff.
If you don't like us rambling, just you've got to talk to us.
Well, that's
we're
true.
in an
Or
echo chamber.
fast forward. Hey, this is online. Fast forward to the next
Forward.
thing.
Fast forward, no.
All right. Hey,
It's
and
so hard.
thank God that we have the blog piece. We can always put your notes in there, so that gives you the answers for a few things. But if anything of this helps in any way, shape, or form, we always like to hear from you, and we are so happy to have been able to help.
Yes, sir.
All right. I think I'll let you go. We both have work to do over here, and actually on the same thing. And look, I didn't blue screen.
Yay.
Hey, okay.
Okay.
Crossing my fingers. I'm going to stop the presentation over here, and I'm
Bye,
going to
everyone.
stop the recording. Alrighty, so say goodbye, Lair.
Goodbye.
Okay, goodbye from Cloud Talk, the show.